We're late. Camera's all kind of cockeyed here. Oh man. You go away for a couple days, you come back. I mean, that's exactly what they told me at the airport last night as I was coming back. And they said, and I had a later flight. You've been in this situation before, right? You have a later flight and you say, I'm going to get on an earlier flight, right? And I'm going to surprise everybody, right? I'm going to, and so I switched from a 9:30 to a 6:45 at the airport. And I'm thinking, I did this all without a travel agent, right? I'm feeling really, really like I'm the king of the world, right? Because I just saved 3 hours of my life, which, this is what travel's about. I got one over on the airlines, right? And then that flight is delayed 2 hours, and then it's delayed up to the point where it would have matched the flight I was on time wise, and then they cancel the flight. And I'd given up the other flight, so I'm stuck. Fortunately, I'm in a fairly nice city. I was in San Diego, but I didn't know what happened. I thought it was weather. I thought, because it's Southwest, and this is a Southwest rant. Among other things I'm talking about today. Welcome. It's Emil Amok's Takeout. My takes on all things considerable. I'm Emil Guillermo. So this is my night, right? This is my Sunday night. I don't get to watch American Idol. I don't get to do anything fun. I thought I was going to get home early. No, I get home. I don't even get home. They put me up in a hotel, which actually is one of the nicer hotels they were putting up people in. So maybe they because they knew I was going to complain. Oh, put him in a nice hotel, but give him one that there's no shuttle, so he has to pay for getting to the hotel, unless he walks to it. I mean, because I'm not going to be the guy who sits in the the waiting, those chairs they have in the lobby. I'm not going to be that guy. I'll go into a hotel, even though it means I check into the hotel by say 9, 10 o'clock at night, only to leave at 2 a.m. in the morning to catch, or 3 a.m. in the morning to catch a really early morning flight, which is not late. But anyway, they don't tell you what's going on at Southwest. They're trying, but the intercom or the white courtesy telephone, terrible. They're not communicating with anybody. The people on the ground, after the year Southwest has had, those people are just like they've had it up to here. I mean, they're working for a lousy company. So I have no clue what's going on, except, I get to this nice hotel. It is nice compared to where I've been the last couple of days. I mean, I was out in the desert, but it was comfortable. I got up early, like 3 in the morning, 3:45, and then got to the airport, caught a 6:30. They don't even have TSA pre-check. It doesn't even start that early because there's not enough people, except all those stranded people who came up at that the morning rush. So I get back, and it's not until I got back probably around 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning. Not until noon today, I get something from Southwest Airlines Proactive Communications Department, they call it. The Proactive Communications Department. Here's their email to me. Dear Emil, I'm sorry for the delay you experienced in San Diego yesterday, culminating with the cancellation of your flight due to a mechanical issue with the aircraft scheduled to operate the flight. Now, had they told me that, I would say, yeah, I'm not going to catch that crappy plane. Do whatever you but take care of me too also. But, I was told that it had something to do with scheduling or something to do with weather. That was the communication I had. I get the clarification at noon today that it was some kind of mechanical issue. The email says, I hope we were able to get you on the next available flight to your destination. Please accept my sincere apology for the interruption to your travel plans. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Got to let the dog out. This is from the proactive customer community, not an executive. This is someone whose job it is to catch the flack of people like me. But this is what gets me. They say we are a company built on serving others through the delivery of safe and reliable air transportation. Your continued patronage is important to us, and we hope you continue giving us the privilege of seeing you on board. In that spirit, they're going to send me some kind of voucher. I don't know if I want to use it, or if maybe at some point, if someone, a relative or someone has to fly, maybe I'll say, yeah, here. But I vowed this morning after I got to the airport early that this is the last time I fly with Southwest. I mean, there are other airlines. I thought they wouldn't screw up if it's just within the state, Southern California to Northern California. But apparently that can happen because the planes come from everywhere, right? But I'll tell you, I have had really good luck with Alaska Airlines. And remember, all it takes is one bad experience and you're off that airline for a good couple of years, until there's some kind of reform in the business culture or in their attitude of how to deal with customers. Because Alaska for the longest time was hampered by this idea that all the pilots were drunk. Well, not all, but there was like one very famous one. And you can Google Alaskan Airlines pilot who was drunk and he got busted. And then that led to this reputational disaster for the airlines. They've since recovered. Now I think they're, one of the more responsible airlines. If I have a choice of airlines, I'm flying Alaska. They're not paying me to do that, to say that. I'm just saying that from my experience. But now Southwest used to have that kind of good reputation, except for the last year. And finally, like, this was like my first Southwest flight, and I thought, oh, they can't screw this one up. And on the outbound, they didn't screw up, but going back home, yeah. I mean, so Southwest, and I used to like Southwest so much. I used to like United so much because I'm from San Francisco. That was the sort of the hub. And then United just, one or two mechanical failures in your experience where you have to like land early or turn around. That's enough to make you say, oh, I got to go with some other guy. And so right now, if I fly again, chances are not Southwest, probably Alaska. That's sort of where I am now. And fortunately, they go cross country. They go, wherever I want to go. But it was kind of a harrowing. It wasn't that harrowing, but I'll tell you what was harrowing. The one thing I like about Southwest, the one thing is that it's open seating. Now, this morning I was kind of mad, right? And I said, look, I go through this whole thing with the airline on Sunday night. The least they could do is book me and my fellow canceled passengers, let us board not at A group or B group or C group the way that they board on Southwest, right? A is better. C is not so great because you're coming in last. They had all us canceled people coming in under the C group, the cancel group, which is, your bag may not make it with you. You might have to check it in. It was a full flight. And I thought maybe just as a courtesy, they could have done that, for us canceled folks, but they didn't. So I was really upset. A woman who must not fly a whole lot, she was standing next to the counter where I was, and she asked the counter person, is it all open seating? And the woman said, yeah, it's open seating just like church. This is a Southwest employee. And I overheard and I said, like church, this is not church. You're a crummy airline. This isn't church. If it's like church, it may be a church full of pedophile priests, but it's not church. And she got really huffy at me. She got to, well, I believe some people have a right to put church in their lives. I said, my goodness, woman, you may be spiritual, you may be religious, but you work for a crummy airline. Don't bring up, in an analogy to your crummy airline, the idea of religiosity and church. This is not church, this is airlines. Seating. You got a seating problem. Actually, Catholic Church wishes they had a seating problem. They got too many empty seats. That's their problem. So anyway, I got mad at this Southwest employee, who then like turned to me and really looked at me with scorn, like, you have no right to insert yourself into my conversation. I said, I'm a fellow passenger here. I need to know, if you're giving information about the flight, I want information too. That's why I'm here, because I got screwed over by the airline. And she almost touched me. She had her hand, she was a little taller than me. That's not really difficult to do. My gong is taller than me here. And she had her hand like she was going to, I don't know what she was going to do. And I said, I said, please don't touch me. I was gonna get slugged by the counter person. So anyway, it was I just said, she said to me, you're just looking for an argument, are you? I said, no, I'm not even looking for material for this web show I do at 2:00 Pacific, but you're giving it to me. Oh my God. So anyway, never Southwest again. All right. Let me balance this out by saying there's one really good thing about Southwest, is that there's no first class, it's open seating, but the people who want to come in near the first, say row 2 to row 6, that's sort of like equivalent to first class seating, because you're right up there in the front of the plane. I don't count the bulkhead seat, row 1, because that's not that comfortable. But row 2 on to maybe row 6 or 8. Buddies, people who know each other, companions fly, and one takes the window and one takes the aisle. They leave the middle open, right? And they put a bag, or they almost dare you to take the middle seat, because no one likes the middle seat. They don't know me. I love the middle seat. Are you kidding me? The middle seat has more leg room for your bag if you have a carry-on like I do. I love the middle seat. So these people, the people who split the rows, they hate me, because I look at them and I know what they're doing. They got a bag on that middle seat, and I'm going to take it. I'm going to take that middle seat. That's like my invitation. And I look at these two guys like, they're buddies, and they kind of move over and talk to each other to obscure the middle seat so that I don't see it. But I know what they're up to. So, I grab the middle seat, and then I put my bag up top. Now, here's the other trick I learned. I'm going to share this to you with you because I like you. Whether you get this live or the replay. They close the where you store your baggage up top. They close the lid on one of the sides of that that top shelf where you put your bags, so it makes it look like it's all full, and there just looked like there was a little sliver of room. I was going to try to get my bag in, because I thought the closed lid meant the rest of that compartment was full. The guy must have realized that he was scamming people, because he said, oh, no, don't try to jam your bag in there, look. And he goes up, he stands up, and he opens the compartment, revealing an empty space, because people, when they're looking for a place to stick their bag, or they're looking for an empty seat, they see it closed, and suddenly they think, oh, that's full. They move on. Discovered another scam, Southwest scam. Anyway, so I was sitting in the first 3 rows, which is like, it's like first class. Although you're in the Greyhound of airlines, it's like first class. And I'm there in the middle seat, and the windows are open, or the shades. And here's the one good thing: if you are able to get in that front part of the airplane, and I don't usually have this experience because I'm usually down by the wing, or I go in the back. But when all the shades are up and it was really kind of a spiritual experience on liftoff. San Diego is always cloudy, right? But as we were taking off and going and entering the clouds, I remember, I don't know if I was meditating or saying a Hail Mary or what, but it was almost like I was being lofted into the heavens. And it actually was one of the more enjoyable parts of flying with Southwest. And then I remember, God, but I got screwed over last night, and then I was just like, hands on my, hands crossed the whole way. I wasn't that mad, but anyway, travel nightmare. All the stories about Southwest that they've been trying to, try to, put to bed and put to rest, try to build up some new image. We're not the screw up airlines. They're the screw up airlines. I know, Southwest, and they sent me the email. They said they're going to send me a voucher. I don't think I'm going to use it. Said, we look forward to welcoming you on aboard another flight in the near future. Don't count on it. I love the saying, when they're not stewardesses, the flight attendants, when they say, we know you have a choice in airlines. And I say, do you really? Do you really know we have a choice in airlines? Because after the night I had with Southwest, I guess I just want my butt kissed a little bit more, I mean, sure, I'm flying coach. Oh, so kiss my coach butt. You don't have to kiss it like it's first class butt. I just need to know you understand you screwed up. And then I can be a little more forgiving. Anyway, airline rant. Ha. But today's a day of special celebration because it's Asian American Pacific Islander, or Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander month. Welcome to May. May is a long month. The history of AAPI or AANHPI month is, they like to call it now, because it's inclusive. The evolution was to start from an AAPI week to what is Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. Some people still call it Asian Pacific American, APA Heritage Month. So APAH month. Those are the old timers, right? But now the kind of working title that even the White House uses is Asian American AANH, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander PI month. AANHPI. PIHM, Heritage Month. Not history, but heritage. Anyway, so welcome to it. May 1st, though, is always about labor and strikes. And it's so the AANHPI intersection. Think of all those people who've worked in all those restaurants. I mean, my father was a restaurant worker. My father was a cook, but some relatives worked in, as waiters. And, think about those people. People worked in the hotel restaurant unions and how there were no unions before. That's something to think about on May 1st. We're talking about labor, May Day, and strikes and unionization. The AAPI intersection. Think about all the Asian labor. In fact, think about all the Asians who came over from their respective countries, first as migrant labor, who would come to work the fields in California and throughout the West Coast, or they started actually in Hawaii, then came to California. My father was fortunate. He got to skip Hawaii. I don't know if that's fortunate or not, but he got to skip Hawaii. He came straight to California in the 1920s. But what my father did, he skipped the fields. He said, I'm not going to work in the fields, not for 10 cents an hour. I'm not going to pick the vegetables. He said, I'm going to cook the vegetables. So my father went to work in restaurants. And I don't know what he was paid, but maybe a little better than 10 cents an hour. But it wasn't until he was part of a union that he was able to get a living wage. I know that. So think about that. This AAPI month on the 1st. I mean, it's May Day, right? We're thinking about workers and unions and people's voices, strike for justice in work conditions. When you talk about AAPI, you talk historically, going back 20th century, 19th century, 20th, I'd say, in terms of America, right? In terms of Filipinos, Asians coming here. I guess, yeah, 19th century, talk about the Chinese who come, Gold Mountain. One story that broke today that caught my interest is that Barbie is introducing an Anime Wong doll. And if you don't know who Anime Wong is, check out her IMDb biography. And Asian American, born in LA, January 3rd, 1905. One of the early Asian Americans, right? Because parents come 1880s, 1890s, or 1840. The earliest would be like around the gold rush, right? 1850s, 1860s. I don't know if Hop Singh was able to marry and have kids, but if he did, that was a generation. But of the first real big wave, 1905, that's one of the first, right? Anime Wong, first Chinese American movie star, born Wong Lu Song, Tsong, January 3rd, 1905, in LA. And her father was laundryman Wong Sam Sing and his wife Lee Gon Toy. Third generation American. So you're talking 1905 to maybe 1880s to 1840. Yeah, see, that's the third generation from the gold rush, from the Gold Mountain days, right? And then their offspring, boom, 1905. Here's Anime Wong. And notice her father, Wong Sam Sing, the laundryman. Why are all the Asians laundrymen? Why are all the Asians cooks? Why do they cook and do laundry? It's because that's what the servants did, right? And if you're lucky, you're able to professionalize this labor and say, hey, I don't just do the laundry, I own the laundry. Or I don't just cook the food, I own the damn restaurant. I mean, that's your mobility in a racist society. So Anime Wong in 1905 becomes an actress. In her biography in IMDb, it says she managed to have a substantial acting career during a deeply racist time when the taboo against miscegenation, which is just mixing. You can't, they didn't want people to mix. They didn't want Asians to miscegenate. Not necessarily marriage or having sex, just mixing, being together. Miscegenation, the taboo against miscegenation meant that Caucasian actresses were cast as Oriental women in lead parts opposite Caucasian leading men. See, I mean, that's yellowface, right? And the IMDb quotes or cites Paul Muni as the Chinese peasant Wang Lung in The Good Earth. I mean, we all know The Good Earth. I love it or hate it for different reasons. Love Pearl Buck, hate Pearl Buck, love the book, hate the movie, or vice versa. They rejected Anna May Wong for a role in the Good Earth since she did not fit a Caucasian's imagined ideal look for an Asian woman. Well, and also because there was this taboo against miscegenation, against mixing. So discrimination there for Anna May Wong. She worked in Europe, in England, and in Germany. And her name, which she spelled Wong Lu, Lew Song, Song, translates literally as frosted yellow willows. But there's frosted yellow willows. But has been interpreted as second daughter yellow butterfly, which makes more sense. In a way, her family gave her the English language name Anna May. She was born on Flower Street in downtown LA in an integrated neighborhood dominated by Irish and Germans, 1 block from Chinatown, where her father ran the Sam Key Laundry. So it's an interesting biography here about Anna May Wong on the IMDb. And she was educated in a school in Chinatown, lived there most of her life. They lived around Figueroa Street, where they had Mexican and East European neighbors. So that was diversity back in the 30s. And then she found her way into movies. So, and you can see her long list of movies, including supporting roles in Todd Browning's melodrama Drifting in 1923. She appeared as Tiger Lily in Chieftainess of the Indians. She played an Eskimo in The Alaskan in 1924. And in the Paramount production of J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan in 1924, she played a very small role. Let's see. But anyway, you can read about Anna May Wong, where she a star of the stereotypical dragon lady type image in The Thief of Baghdad in 1924. So, all right, so Anna May Wong deserves, she was discriminated, she was in a public role, a very public occupation, openly discriminated. Yeah, she deserves some kind of recognition. But there's just something, is it me, or do you ladies out there, can you see why a Barbie doll in your image is not exactly the kind of accolade that you would want, even though, look, Anna May Wong's dead, so it's posthumous, right? So we're giving her another go round. You know, she gets, we talk about her more now because, oh, look at those pioneers and what they went through. But I would think because of Barbie and what Barbie stands for, I mean, what does Barbie stand for but a kind of this vacuous kind of beauty, right? I mean, in some ways. Is it, I mean, don't name a Barbie doll after me. Don't put a Barbie in my image. Give me reparations. Give me something real. Anyway, but you know what Barbie's doing. Barbie is they're debuting the Inspiring Women series because Barbie knows that its role has been to establish the idea of how vacuous beauty can be. And so this is kind of enlightened vacuity, I guess. Or it's a redemptive vacuity because Barbie is trying to reform its image. Look, we're not just going after the babes. We're going after the pioneers. We're going after notable women. We're going after the beautiful women. Like Maya Angelou as a Barbie. I think Maya Angelou as a Barbie doll is it could be a good idea, but I'm sure there's some people who want to spit at the thought. First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt as a Barbie doll? Come on. I think Mattel and Barbie, it shows a desperation for how much they want to be redeemed for their past sins, because they created this idea of, feminine beauty in that negative way. I mean, what's next? You want Lizzo as a Barbie doll? I mean, that would be like really so transparent. But no, this is pretty transparent too. They're trying to buy a sense of, look, we're not that bad. This is our Barbie Penance. They're going to actually do a Barbie doll of Maya Angelou. Just remember, it's not the doll. It's, as Maya Angelou would say, it's how the doll makes you feel. And it actually makes me feel kind of like Barbie's really pretty desperate to try to like uplift her game. Like, oh, I'm not some dumb blonde. I'm a powerful, notable woman like Eleanor Roosevelt. So are they going to have wheelchair Ken for Eleanor Roosevelt? Artist Frida Kahlo they're going to do. So this whole thing, first of all, it's a sop to diversity, a sop to femininity, and corporate through and through. You can see through this, can't you? Anyway, Anna Mae Wong. All right, I ranted about Southwest. My AAPI rant. There's no AAPI rant, but check out my column in the ALDEF blog, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. Joe Biden is going to run again, right? He announced last Tuesday. And then to cap it off, first of all, the news is no one wants him to run. They think he's too old. Everyone thinks he's too old. And I'm just saying, my column this week is about ageism. Why do we allow ageism to happen? Why is it that look, I was going to say, we deplore racism, at least outwardly. Some of us do. Some of us really work racism. Like the Texas governor, who right in the middle of this whole shooting spree in Texas, talks about the perp being he used the term illegal immigrant. Like that somehow excuses this crime? There's just illegal immigrants shooting each other? So, I'd like to think that we as a country, don't, that we just denounce racism, but that's an example of racism spoken by the governor of Texas. I mean, it's an example of the kind of racism that we have now in 2023. Sexism. I mean, Barbie. I guess the only way you can undo the sexism that Barbie has created all these years is by making a Barbie doll out of Eleanor Roosevelt. I guess. So maybe it's not so far-fetched to understand or to see that as a country we have a hard time with ageism. Joe Biden, everyone's saying he's too old. Democrats, Republicans. I mean, that was the polling of the last, prior to last week, prior to Biden's announcement. Only 1 in 4 Americans want Biden and Harris to run again. 70% overall say he shouldn't run, and almost all of them mention age. Not Kamala Harris, although they're going to make Kamala Harris the target because they want to lead with ageism. They don't want to admit they're ageist. So the interesting thing this week, so read my column on the Aldef blog. I talk about ageism. Interesting thing about Biden this weekend is that he did the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And, if you lived in Washington like I have, and you're in journalism like I is somewhat associated. The White House Correspondents' Dinner is like they call it, nerd prom? And it was always a see and be seen kind of thing. Actually, after I left Washington, it became more of that. When I was in Washington, it was a big deal, but people did not see the value. I think it was social media. And I think it also was the idea of celebrity, that people took the idea of politics being show business for ugly people. People took that seriously in America, starting with, I would have to say, the Clinton years. I was there. Yeah, I left right around the Clinton years. So from the Clinton years afterwards, it became a thing. And so there was Joe Biden this weekend telling all these jokes about being an old guy. So he's leaning in. He's leaning into these, the fact that everyone thinks he's old. But he has this counter. And the counter is Dark Brandon. Now, I had to take a couple seconds to let that sink. Dark Brandon, what the? If you recall, in some stock racing oasis in the South, Joe Biden made an appearance, or there was some kind of cry out. They were calling him Brandon, and that was like code for Joe Biden. And so, you see, I don't even know it completely. I just know it's become MAGA code for Joe Biden. And so the Biden people, the people who write his jokes, got the aviator glasses, the dark aviator glasses, and they created this new character called Dark Brandon, which is the alter ego of Joe Biden. And I think Dark Brandon is going to be a thing. It's going to be a thing that will allow Joe Biden to be the Dark Biden, to be even more woke, but more aggressively woke, to go after the people who coined him or termed him Brandon. So here's Dark Brandon coming after you. I think in this day and age, it's a mark of genius, and it also shows that Joe Biden and his team, they aren't out to lunch. They know what's going on. And if they're trying to appeal to young people, I think Dark Brandon is a way to do that. Although, one of the things about Dark Brandon, or one of the things about what differentiates the modern Democratic Party and the modern Republican Party, is which side is pro-women? The side with Marjorie Taylor Greene, or the side with the millions of women who want the right to choose? I think there's a real imbalance there. The side with the millions of women who want to give women the right to choose, that is clearly the Democratic side. Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know what she is. Biden had a joke about her too. Funny joke. You'll have to see it on YouTube or something. But Then, all right, so there's women and there's also minorities and the LGBTQ. I mean, the one thing about Tucker Carlson's demise, in my mind, why I think there's no redemption, is the way he goes after transgender people and just all gay people. Now, oh, you might say, oh, come on, Emil, I know some gay Republicans. Yeah, but I'm reading some of the gay journalistic sites. Let's not even call them journalism. Some of the gay platforms and what they say. I mean, they call the LGBTQ alphabet activists. I'm telling you, the lines are being drawn and you can see, well, who's pro LGBTQ? Republicans? No. Democrats. And it's going to be people. If you're a Democrat, you're a person who loves freedom. You're a person who loves the right to choose. You're a person who's for LGBTQ. You're a person for, and opposite that is the Republican Party, who love Donald Trump. They can't get over their love for Donald Trump, even though he's fighting a civil case where the real allegation is rape. Even though it's a rape case and his defense attorneys offer no rebuttal other than, oh, he denies it ever happening. It's a civil case, not a criminal case. But you should be following the case of E. Jean Carroll, who is suing Donald Trump for defamation. They're still in, I think, the third day of testimony. Just this morning, Donald Trump's attorney, Takeout, he wanted to ask for a mistrial. That's when you know there's desperation, when the lawyers are asking for mistrials. Anyway, Dark Brandon, I can see Joe Biden is Dark Brandon coming up and really giving it to the Republicans who are, they're lining up. Oh, look at those woke people. Look at those alphabet activists. And then here's Dark Brandon speaking up and talking in their language, but in a fun way, using the image of Dark Brandon, the man that the MAGA types love to hate, with his aviator glasses, standing up for truth and justice in America. The 2024 campaign, it's sort of like taking shape just this weekend at that White House Correspondents' Dinner. I've been to a few of those, and actually, when I was in Washington, like I said, it was before it was on C-SPAN and before they made it into this big thing they call Nerd Prom. And so when I was there, they were practically giving tickets away because no celebrities would go there and have big parties, and it wasn't even political in a real, in the same way that it is now, like a see and be seen kind of thing. In fact, one of the first times I was there in the 90s, early 90s, they weren't sold out. Now they're sold out all the time. White House Correspondents' Dinner, WHCD. Last year we made fun of the fact that everyone went to the Correspondents' Dinner and they all got COVID, or many people got COVID. And now this is one thing I noticed. I was on the air. I talked about being on an airplane, the Southwest flight. I'm going to restaurants. I'm practically back into life. I miss my old isolated self. I miss myself where I'm in my closet here talking with you. I miss that life where I can say, look, I'm of a protected class. I might get COVID. I'm sorry. I can't be there. But now, I know why I'm not there. If I'm not there, I'm not there because I don't like you. No, I love you all. But I know I'm not there because it's hard to be there. But it's not hard because of COVID. Hard for other reasons. But COVID, my goodness. it's like it's not there. And I checked stats. I was in San Diego. No one was wearing a mask. There's some deaths. There's some, COVID cases. But for the most part, you know, the graphs look like things are not at zero, but there's still a pandemic. People are still getting sick. So I guess gradually, this is a weekend where I'm feeling like more and more I'm coming out of my COVID shell, and I knew it was going to happen because I got my 6th shot. Now I didn't know how many shots I had. I didn't know how many shots I had because my card was all shriveled up. But I actually spent time to look at my vaccination card, and my God, I've had 6 of those. I had 3 regular shots, and I've had 3 boosters. I had the 2 boosters, and then I had the new booster. I had to get a new booster. Are you kidding me? I had to get a new booster. And I think I wore my booster this weekend like it was some kind of COVID shield. Although I don't know. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I'll tell you something. As soon as I saw someone cough, I was like, oh. Fortunately, I think you have a greater risk of air conditioning colds where I was in the desert. I was in the desert. I had a good time. I was with some solo artists who like to work alone, which is really weird because they really like to gather together, but they like to work alone. And so we were there sharing ideas and sharing techniques, learned a lot from the solo artists, many of whom are going to be at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. It's a Fringe Festival that I haven't been a part of since I've been doing Fringes the last 6-7 years. But I'd like to. It's not that I don't have anything against them. It's just that it never has come up. I've done the San Diego Fringe and the Orlando Fringe and the Cap City Fringe and the Baltimore Fringe and the Frigid Fringe. And I had to say no to a bunch of fringes. Like I said no to the St. Louis Fringe because it conflicted with something I'm doing in August. But look, I love fringe festivals. So a lot of these guys are going to the Hollywood Fringe. Oh, and I met some people going to the Edinburgh Fringe, the Big Daddy Fringe, which is, it's tough. It costs money, especially if you're an American, traveling and lodging and all that. You're playing for 30 days. But no, it was a good time. Learned a lot. There's something about the desert. Being in the desert that's kind of spiritual, that's kind of... I can see why a lot of artists love the desert. So it was fun. Let's see, I got a couple of comments here. Let's see. Oh, so there's people who feel... Well, I'll have to read that and I'll make a comment once I understand what they're trying to say. But I think they feel that Asian Americans have been sold out by the Democratic Party. I think that's the gist. And to accept, the Democratic Party values, which may be in conflict with Asian American values. I don't know. I think women who want the right to choose, or people who want to have to be free to do what they want with their bodies and with their lives. Now, that's one thing I'll say about the solo artists that I hung out with this weekend. A lot of them represent people who are essentially social justice warriors. They've got issues. They want to entertain as well as educate about women's issues, about LGBTQ issues, about race issues. It's not just a fun and games musical. It's not just there's something serious going on, mostly about entertaining and educating at the same time, about maybe cultures you're not aware of. Anyway, the solo artist I was with, trying to combine that with this idea here that some listener just popped in. Hey, if you're listening for the first time, I do this at 2:00 Pacific because I'll go through the news and see what I feel and see what kind of takes I have, and then I'll share them with you. I'll share them. I mean, there were a bunch of, usually I talk about things like shootings and all the news of the day, but today, because of my airline thing, I just wanted to rant about Southwest. And also, I didn't want to talk about another killing, and not because they were brown people, because I don't want to ignore mass shootings in, these, communities of color. I mean, they had another shooting in Bakersfield today, like 4, or maybe it was over the weekend, but it was reported. I saw the report today in the Fresno Bee. And here's the thing. We're already pretty inured to the idea of, here's a shooting, here's another shooting. What more when we add that sort of racist screen, or not racist, racial screen? And so we don't see the shooting because it involves a person from a community we don't care about, or a person from a community we don't know about. I mean, that's how it happens usually. Communities underserved, communities no one pays attention to. The guy in Cleveland, Texas, the sheriff there, he was kind of upset with the governor. He said, look, I don't care what race these people are. I don't care if they're brown. I don't care what color they are. Paraphrasing here. But he said, look, there are people in my district who had a crime committed onto them. They needed protection. They have a right to public safety. It's not just a white community issue. Not just a white guy. But that's what the governor of Texas made it sound like when he was talking about illegal immigrants. Like they don't deserve the right to be able to walk in public safely, regardless of their immigration status. People have a right to be able to walk in public and have a reasonable expectation of safety. That's democracy. I mean, it's not like you take your life in your own hands with every step you take in America. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't. But with comments like the one that Greg Abbott made, the governor of Texas, about, illegal immigrants. I mean, it makes it sound like we're only going to care about some crime. We're not going to care about all crime. Just some. That's not America. All right, I'm going to wrap up our show today with something fun. I left my theater get-together out in the desert. It's the high desert. I left it early because I'm a Golden State Warriors fan, and I had to see the game. And the Warriors kept it close to the first half, and it looked like, oh man, they may run out of gas. They may not have enough to fill, to beat the Sacramento Kings. And they're playing up in, Kings country in Sacramento. But in that second half, and I remember because I was able to watch and experience it live, they killed the Kings. Here's how they killed the Kings. Stephen Curry showed up. I mean, we know he's a superstar, but not all the time. I mean, he's 35. So I think he believes in that time-honored Silicon Valley tradition, just in time. There's this idea in business, do it just in time. And the technologists have tried to create systems to make business flow just in time. Stephen Curry is that kind of guy. He's great, but he doesn't have unlimited resources, being older. He works out and he's got to make sure he's got the wind and the stamina. But there are some games he's not there 100%. And you could tell by his output, you know, games he scores 10 or 20 or less, he's okay. The other guys have to share the load, right? But the games he scores 50 like he did yesterday, that's a special game. And fortunately, he doesn't have to score 50 every night. He'd kill himself. But he had to score 50 yesterday, and that's when the Warriors win. He's got to score 50 when they have to win. But he only has to do that when all the other Warriors are showing up with busted arrows. All the other Warriors just don't have it. And the other Warriors did not play that well. I mean, they hit an occasional basket. Kevon Looney was great, of course, Mr. Rebound. The Warriors have always had in their history, one or two big rebounders who did no scoring. Larry Smith comes to mind. I've been following the Warriors for years. Nate Thurman was a scorer, but he was a big guy. They had other guys. Oh, and I forget some of their names now. That's just me. I was going to say a Donald Foyle, but no, there was one guy before Foyle. Anyway, I love the Warriors, and so I used to watch them when I was a kid, like when I was pretty tall for my age, 4 feet. I was like 7 or 8, and I would watch Rick Barry, and I'd watch Nate Thurman. They were the Warrior champions, and so it's kind of special to have Stephen Curry to watch now because he's revolutionized the game. 3-point, everyone's playing, tries to emulate him. He's Mr. 3-point. He's changed the math of the game. He's changed the rhythm, but he can't do it every game. He's not a machine. And that's the problem when you play an 82-game season. He shows up sometimes, he doesn't. But in the playoffs, you got to show up. You got to show up when you have to. And fortunately, you strategize so that you don't have to play like a superhero every game. But game 7, backs up to the wall. He had to be a superhero yesterday, and he was. And I'm glad, because the other Warriors weren't superheroes, and the Warriors could have lost that easily. You take away what Stephen Curry is, the Warriors lose to the Kings. You have Stephen Curry up there doing his thing, and he makes everyone look like lesser mortals. He is so special. And he doesn't show it as much. But tomorrow, I think he's going to have to show it in San Francisco. Or hopefully the other Warriors will step up and say, hey, we're in the series with the Lakers, with LeBron James. We got to play well. And so instead of being 110% superhero tomorrow, Stephen Curry can be 80% superhero. And that's still enough to beat the Lakers. But the other guys have to be pumping and doing, getting their points. Because, at one point it was just, thank God for Stephen Curry. Anyway, I said Warriors in 6 originally I think I said that on Wednesday. And of course, the Warriors embarrassed themselves on Friday. And then hence you needed a game 7 on Sunday. And fortunately they won. They won that because Stephen Curry showed up. All right, this is Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander month. And we're going to talk more about Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander things in the coming days. Man, last week was a big day for Koreans. If you're South Korean, you got the president of South Korea coming to do a state dinner. You got him singing American Pie. You got a documentary on PBS on Chul Soo Lee. Man, that is a great document. I'll talk more about that tomorrow. All right. regular listeners of the show know I'm on Monday through Friday. I come on 2 p.m. Pacific Live and I just start talking. You can see it on Facebook at fb.com/EmilGuillermo.media. You can see it on Twitter at Emil Amok, EMILAMOK. On YouTube at Emil Amok 1. Not on Instagram. I do something different on Instagram, but I'm on Instagram at Emil Amok 1 also. And catch the replays on amok.com. All right. So happy Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, or the kickoff. It's a long month. We got a lot to do, a lot to think about. I'll be revisiting a tragedy that happened in my life later this week. And tomorrow, Tuesday, the Lakers and the Warriors play. That'll be exciting. So, regular listeners also know I like to meditate. It's made me less amok, which is helpful. Although I was not less amok when it came to Southwest Airlines this morning. Oh, I blame that on lack of sleep. But really, I don't think I'll fly with them for a while. I mean, they really are going to have to prove that they really want my business, my quote unquote continued patronage, as they say. So we'll see what kind of, they called it a love voucher, LUV. I don't know, because that was their whole thing, love. I think that's an acronym or something. The love voucher. They're going to send it to you. I'll tell you how much it is. All right. So meditation. I was talking to some solo artists, friends of mine, and they say, Emil, sometimes it's so hard to make any kind of money during this thing. In fact, we don't make any money. And sometimes you wonder, why do we do this? And this one woman says to the gathering, she says, we do it because we remember we have this sense of gratitude for being able to do this, for being able to tell our stories. We have this sense of gratitude for being able to reach out and let people know what we're about, that universal authenticity that strikes a chord with people who hear our stories. They learn from us and they're enlightened and they come across relating to our stories, our narratives, so that they feel good, it makes us feel good, it makes it worthwhile, and it begins with that sense of gratitude. But you don't get that sense of gratitude. You don't get to have that sense of gratitude unless you feel a sense of self-love, a sense of self-worth. And that's where I find my meditation has come in, because my meditation has helped me to not beat myself up too much, not care too much what other people may think or say, to be brave and courageous to say what I want to say. And I can only do that if I had an ounce of self-love. Sometimes that's all you need. You're in trouble when you need a whole lot more, but that's all right. There is a whole lot more out there for us. And you find it through meditation, through the metta meditation, through loving self-kindness. You just give yourself that hug. Okay. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till tomorrow. Mahal